Right, okay, SharpCap. Has anyone used SharpCap?
A little bit. I don't tend to use it.
All right, okay. Well, this is quite good. It cost a grand total of £12 per year to use it, and it gets updated every Monday. I haven't updated this week's yet, so that should be fun. Well, let me just use this for an example. Right, so we're capturing the image. This is the moon, obviously, but we're downloading. I've set my capture up to do it in a video format, and it's going to capture so many frames per second depending on the resolution of the camera and how quickly the camera can process these images. This is on a 533 sensor, so it's 9 megapixels, and it's doing roughly 20 frames per second, which isn't too bad for this. Although if I'm going to be doing it with the sun, because the sensor is in black and white and much smaller, at 16-bit mode, this is also 16-bit mode, I can do 65 frames per second, which is a lot better. And you can grab those longer sequences if you're doing it in thousands of frames, and that will take only a matter of 20-30 seconds rather than minutes, where in effect you might get a lot of distortion. Clouds might roll over and block some of the image. So obviously the quicker that you can do it and the more frames that you grab, you can select a selection of the better frames that will give you an overall better effect of the final image.
So how long do you usually run it for then? Is it seconds or
right, generally for the moon or the sun, I usually do it for either 1,000 or 2,000 frames. So that could take about 2 to 3 minutes, depending on how things go. So I've got a video frame, which is a bit like the Photoshop format, but in video format, so you can adjust it to much greater amounts. So it's quite interesting there. So, right, so we've got the information as a video. We then open up AutoStakkert, and then two portions of this AutoStakkert, the window and the menu. Right, okay. So we've opened up the menu of the of here to download and select the file that we've just captured. This was from Saturday. So we then go into the analyze, but there's a little green box on the disk of the sun there, which we can move about. If I can control click over to an area where there's some detail, it will lock onto that and try and keep that part of the frame steady through the whole of the video clip, so it doesn't move about when it's trying to process it, so it keeps it static in one position. So we'll then do an analysis. As you can see, the progress bar down the bottom, and as that gradually gets through, it gives you an idea of the good frames to the bad frames. Good frames on the left side of the graph there, and the bad frames over on the right hand side. And as you can see, there's a green mark going from best to worst. And I can scroll through the frames here at the top here. And as I gradually move it across, you can see the bar moving across. And what we try and do is move it over to roughly about 50%. Anything lower than 50% we don't need. So we've got a selection there that gives you an idea of what that frame is. That's frame number 1112 of 2000. Okay, so once we've got that, we need to make sure that all the details on that surface stay put with the captures from frame to frame. So what we'll do is do the selection of active points around the disk. We can select that by the brightness or the darkness here and how big we want the points to be. Obviously, the finer the points, the more selections that there will be. So it depends on how good your processor is and how big your image is. So I'll leave it like that for a minute. We were on about 32 pixels by 32, and we have got 960 alignment points on the disk. That's more than enough. Okay, so we then go to the stage 3, which is the stack, although above we have a drizzle. The drizzle is only effective if you've got a really, really good quality image, or you've got something which is like a planet, like Jupiter or Saturn or one of the other planets, to enlarge it up because it might be rather small. Okay, so once we've done that, we hit the stack and we just let it process through. It's done the reference frame, which is the one that I checked, which was 1122, and then it's going to adjust them all, and it's done it already. So there we are. Okay, it's now saved it. So we will get out of that, and it saved it in a file because we've told it to do 25%. It's in a folder called AutoStakkert 25. So once we've got into that, we then go into another program to get the details out of the image that we've just processed. Now, this one is a fairly recent one, which I have used instead of anyone familiar with Registax. This one was purely designed for solar and lunar imaging, and is pretty good. It does a lot of tweaking with the points on the disk. So let me just open that. And okay, so we have got the image process. We're now going to adjust the picture quality to something which is a bit more presentable from what we've had. So we're going to have okay. Right. Okay. Okay, so we've got a dialog box where we can open this up and we can do some adjustments with the contrast and the sharpness. So we're going to collect a box around like we did in the SharpCap to just quickly give an idea of how we're going to give a general adjustment, and then we will do it overall. So I've managed to get the levels dialog box up, and as you can see in that box, it is adjusting down nicely. Okay, so we'll do that, and maybe just brighten it up a little bit. Okay, so I shall now approve that to the whole of the disk. Okay, right, now this is when some of the magic happens. Now I can adjust the dark black background by adjusting this all the way at the top here. So we've got almost white background, and adjusting the curves here, I can bring that back down. And by doing that, we've got prominences visible around the outside of the disk. Can you see that?
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah. And this is just using Rob's calcium filter. It doesn't produce as great a difference as the hydrogen, but as you can see, it does a pretty good job. And by adjusting the levels here, we can adjust the brightness and the contrast of the disk. Okay, so as you can see, it's quite an interesting shape disk, which we don't normally use for general photography, but using these filters and the type of image that we've got, we can pull wonders out of these things. Okay, so that's the levels done. Now, if we go in and zoom in a bit more, okay, I just want to show you how we can adjust the this is the wavelets version of Registax. So if I just put 2 in there, we've adjusted it a little bit more. Did you see that adjust slightly a bit?
Mm.
If I go too much, it goes really crazy too much. It's all like really horrible grainy stuff, and you've got a big outline all the way around, so you don't want to do that. It's just like really over sharpening in Photoshop. So we just turn it down a little bit to maybe a bit less than that. So down to about there. Okay. So there we go. So we've imported the image. We've adjusted the settings, and we've managed to get a lot of prominences visible. And this was on Saturday. So we've saved the image. Okay.
So Roger, really quickly, you're not doing a separate exposure for the surface and one for the prominences, and you're doing one image.
This I have found is a lot easier, and you don't have to worry about trying to get the image for the prominences to blend in with this one. This is all in one, because
Amazing.
we've got so much latitude with the exposure, with the format that we've got. You can bring this out quite well, as you can see.
That's amazing.
I mean, if you want, if you want to do it in hydrogen alpha, you can do exactly the same. I can show you that as well. So,
so this, Roger, this last section, was that Registax you were using, or was it something different?
I used this instead of Registrax. Solar and lunar imaging for ImPPG. Registax are used for planetary imaging as well, because I've tried using ImPPG for Jupiter and Saturn, and it comes out awful.
Okay.
Because you've got so many other levels in Registax to fine tune it. You can get a much finer adjustment, but this will work generally very well with just the settings for solar and lunar imaging, and it works quite well. So I'll just do that a minute. I'm going to overwrite it, but I don't care. Right, okay, so we've got the image processed, and we'll carry on and then use Photoshop, because I don't have PixInsight. Right, okay, so next thing is to finally adjust any further discrepancies that you want to get rid of in the image into Photoshop. Okay. Just waiting. Right, okay, so we will open up Photoshop. Do you use Photoshop or something similar? Affinity? Principles are the same. Right, okay. Right, so that's the file that it's saved. You may notice that in the top right and bottom left, it's got jagged edges. It's obviously where it's locked onto the position of the sun and kept it in position, and obviously compensated for where it was in the phone when it was being recorded. So that's why you've got those trailing bits around the corner there. So what we can do is just quickly crop that off. And then what we'll do is we'll finally just adjust the images to something which makes it a bit more presentable. Right, okay. So we can further enhance any details, and if you want to, we can color it in. Right, so we'll go to camera raw filter, which is the one I usually go to. I've just remembered something. Because this was done as a black and white image, it's still in grayscale. So if we need to do any adjustments, we need to make sure that we're in the right mode. As you can see, we are in grayscale. So consequently, go to RGB. Right, okay, we can now continue on with further adjustments. So camera roll, my usual go-to straight after processing an image. And then we can do any more clarity and adjustments on any adjustments there. There we are. Bring the shadows up a bit so it doesn't look too black on the other end. And of course, some people have a normal image like this, or they invert it. So they've got the black background with white sunspots. I'll show you what both versions look like, and you can see what version you may like. Some people like doing inverted images, and some people hate them because they don't like seeing white sunspots. So if you want to color it in, you can do. So you can color it in like that, although this is a calcium one, so we don't want it in that color. Can either have it as a black and white, or I've got presets. What usually happens is when I get an image in, it comes in either as a black and white or as a green sun when I do my color camera with the green filter on. And I've got presets which I have in my camera raw filter, which I just click on, and it's all set up ready to go. And that way you've always got consistency in the color and the type of image that you can reproduce time after time. So what you usually do, load in the settings, and this is a calcium one there, and oh, that must still be it must still be in black and white. I need to, we're still in color. Right. Okay, so we can either have it as a black and white or as a colored image, but then some people have it as a normal image, or we can have it like that, where you've got the white sunspots with the prominences on easier view, but then you've obviously got to adjust the contrast likewise if you're going to have it as an inverted image. So that's what that is like when we've got a calcium image. If you would like to see what an image would be like from a different filter, this is what we've got in a white light. Now this is just done with the Lunt Herschel wedge and the green continuum filter, and then adjusted back into a yellow phase. Although the sun isn't yellow, it's white, but we all like to have it as a nice sunny yellow color. And that's what we can do. But if you want to see what it's like in a hydrogen alpha state, I can go through that if you're interested on how to process a hydrogen alpha image.
Sounds good.
Would you like that?
Yes, please.
Okie dokie. Right, so what we'll do is we will open up a calcium image. Unfortunately, with the weather being what it is, let me share the image for that one and that one. Oh, and stop share. Hang on, let's get both of the programs up. Don't want to see half of it. Share. Right, okay. So we've got the capture image as a hydrogen alpha. You can see some surface details there. And what we'll try and do is pick out some of the details where the activity is with the green box. go to analyze. It will then process the area that we have. If you have a look over to the left-hand side, you can start to see one of these new highly activated sunspot areas. 3870, I think, is the one that it's been designated, and it's one to look out for. And this could be a aurora giver, this one, if the activity proves anything like we've had with the others. So we've now got the processed images to select from our 3000 frames from here. So we pick it out roughly around there. There's a general box that it can consign to making sure. If there's anything outside of that box, it might go out of alignment with the rest of the image. So you have to be a bit wary if your image does trail through the start to finish. You'll end up with bits of image all over the place, and it looks like it's just being blown up by the Death Star. So obviously keeping an image central in the for the duration is most advisable.
Roger, I've got a quick question. When you're moving that quality graph to 50%,
Yes.
why 50%? Why don't you want to keep it to higher quality, to, I don't know, 75%?
Well, everything up to that point will be used.
Okay.
So you can get rid of all the other bits. But
why wouldn't you set it higher to say, oh, I only want to use 90%?
Well, what you can do is you can select it up to 50%, but then you have a box up here. If you notice, we've got stack options. It's got two rows of boxes here. The top row of boxes is a selection of how many frames from that 3000 that you want to select to keep. You can do that multiple times, or a percentage of that amount of frames to be kept. At the moment, I've got 25%. Normally, the rule is the better the quality, the higher percentage that you need, and the lower the percentage for the poorer quality, so you don't end up with something which is completely unusable. But it's up to you. I mean, I can adjust the quality graph back further, so I can have it back up here if I want to. So we'll keep it there then. So it's going to use 25% of the selected files there to stack together. So
that'll just that'll just give you less frames stacked in the end then.
It'll give you a less amount of frames, but there again, if you've selected back further, you get higher quality.
Okay, so that's a trade-off, I see. Okay, you're stacking less.
You can have more of a lower one or fewer of a higher one. It just depends on how the graph is. I mean, in an ideal world, that line, that graph would be a vertical line across the 100%. If you had 100% thin line all the way across, then you're in nirvana. You've got the absolute best that you can get, so you can use 100% of it. Otherwise, sometimes you can get this graph which almost falls to the ground, and there's practically hardly anything there that's usable. So it depends on how good the seeing is, and you know what goes on with seeing. If it's all wobbly, then you know you're not going to get a very stable image, and the quality will be somewhere down on the lower part of the graph. If it's good, then you're right up on the top. I mean, I have got it up to over 75% of the way, nearly all the way across. So it just depends on how fortunate you are. Right, okay, so we've got that ready to go. It's ticked all the way down, and we've got an image there ready. So I'll clear that. I usually press the clear, so next time that you open up another image, it'll have all those points overlaid on the next image. So we don't want that. So, okay, well, right. Okay. So we're back into ImPPG. And I'm going to process that image that we've just had sent through from here. There we are. So highlight an area that we quickly want to process with the levels adjustment, tell it to stretch. That might be a bit bright, but once we've done the overall thing, oh, that's looking a bit too much. So, okay. Now, remember what I said with the calcium one, there's a peak over here. So what I'll do is I'll move that over there. We've nearly got a whiteout. So quickly grab that box down there. And as you can see on the edge, although there aren't many prominences there, there are some visible. So what we can do is just move that over and just adjust. And there we go. If I just move that down a bit to make sure that that sunspot group is visible. Right, okay. Let's pull that. Right, okay. So we've got it roughly adjusted, and we'll just tweak the sharpening up with this. I've just done it as a 3, and that seems to have come up nicely. So we will save that on the desktop as that. I want to override it as we can. Right, okay. So we will now process that in Photoshop to the final image. Okay, right. So there's the image that we've just done. First of all, we need to make sure we go into an RGB mode so we can use a lot more of the facilities that Photoshop enables us to do as an RGB image. So filter, camera raw, and okay. So first of all, we do some bringing out the details there, a little bit more there. Oh, we're getting a bit too bunged on the edge there, so loosen the shadows, bring that up. Not too bad, perhaps a little bit as well. Okay. This down a bit. Right. Keeping an eye on the histogram that we don't cut off or burn out any highlights or bung in any shadows, that should be okay. Right, so we've gone from that to that. And we're nearly there, really. So it's just a matter of colouring it in. Or if we want to do it with as an inverted image, and then colour it in. It's just a matter of personal taste, whether you like black sunspots or white sunspots, depending on how you want your background to show. Any questions about this?
Can I ask you about the alignment points on AutoStakkert?
Yes.
Very often when you're imaging this, I mean, at the moment it's unusual because there's a lot of activity, but very often the disk can be fairly featureless, especially in white light. Is it still useful to have all those hundreds, if not thousands, of alignment points, or do you just concentrate on putting alignment points around where there's a few sunspots and that sort of thing?
Well, I just usually adjust the brightness level until it can start to pick up a few bits and pieces. If not, you can just go around with the mouse and click on various points yourself manually. If you get that desperate trying to find anything. I mean, it's also useful for you can adjust the brightness of the image to actually pick out some of the prominences, and then you can click on those as well, just to make sure that those are in alignment as well if they are visible to process.
Okay, so the tool will pick out things that are adjusted on your screen, will it?
Yes, there is a brightness adjustment on there, so
Yeah.
you can really brighten up to pick any details up
Yeah.
if there was anything there to that did register on there.
And it will align on things like solar granulations, will it?
If the details, if it depends on obviously the resolution that you've got on the camera to how big the magnification is of the surface, but it will do that, yes.
Okay.
And if I put my C11 onto the sun, I can use the surface granulation as points to connect on.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Anything that I've gone through this evening that you need any more information on that wasn't quite apparent?
I've got a question, Roger. How were you doing these every day? Like you churn out these amazing images every day. What's your kind of processing time start to finish? Because you must have that down to be quite efficient, I'm guessing.
Well, fortunately, the processing, capturing from SharpCap just takes a few minutes, and then I import it into AutoStakkert, which will take anything up to 4 or 5 minutes. So after about 10 minutes or so, I've got the image ready to go into ImPPG. And then there's just a matter of a few more minutes on there. I mean, it could take perhaps half an hour from start to finish, from capture to the finished image.
That's not bad, is it? The one thing that puts me off is the time. Just because I've got a young family, having the spare time's at a premium.
Yeah,
it's something I felt like I've dared to get into because of...
I mean, fortunately for me, with my 71mm refractor and the PowerMate and the square sensor, I just get it filled in just nicely. Obviously, as you can see with this image on Photoshop, with the IMX sensor being that much smaller, and if I did it on the telescope, you'd have to do mosaics, which is a right faff because you have to process each one, and then you have to stitch them all together, save it, and then process it as one image from there. And it can take a little bit, considerably more time, depending on how many frames that you need to do it. I mean, generally, it's usually about a 9-panel mosaic. And sometimes Photoshop cannot stitch them together for love nor money. So I've got another program which Microsoft have stopped supporting. It's called Image. It will automatically stitch these images into panoramas or mosaics very, very well. And it's free. And it generally does a pretty good job. And you can't see any joins because it sort of does what it does quite well. So it's just a matter of sticking them all together and then processing it through ImPPG and then into Photoshop. So there we go.
That's good. You're tempting me. It seems a lot easier than I thought it would be and less time consuming, perhaps.
Yeah.
So I'm tempted.
I mean, having that Skywatcher Solar Quest, connect up a small refractor to it, press the on button, and while you're going off to get your laptop or whatever, it's on its way round and it's up there ready to go. So it's amazing for that. It's great for outreach, and it's quite good to show the adults and the children, switch it on. Oh, it's just going, oh, there it is. How clever is that? And you don't have any, you don't put anything in, you just does what it does, and it's perfect. So
half the battle is having the amount of kit, the different kinds of kit, and so that you can have things sitting there ready.
I know.
I mean, if I do solar, then I have to go and put my PST on a photographic tripod and put something over my head so I can actually see something.
I know.
It takes me about half an hour to actually get ready.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm out there, I look like a Victorian photographer, and anyone that walks by seeing me with a big black cloth over my head will be wondering, what on earth am I doing? Although you can get these other ones that are bought that are silver, which have got opaque black lining inside. That doesn't look quite so bad. It makes you look like a Dalek rather than a Victorian photographer. But nevertheless, it is very awkward when you're trying to view a laptop screen, and in daylight you can't see hardly anything, and it's a right pain. But I've managed to get one of my storage boxes. I had some flocking left over from when I did my C11, and I flocked the inside of that box, and it works very well. It absorbs all the light and it stops all the reflections on the screen, so I can actually cue up the alignment and get it all nicely focused without squinting and trying to say stop. I can't see anything because the brightness on the laptop screen is absolutely pathetic. Well, I hope I've managed to give you a brief introduction on how to get this A to B journey into some sort of sensible sequence. And no doubt, if you want to ask me any further questions, we can do it all on the WhatsApp. And I hope you've enjoyed this. There we go.
That's been
That's
brilliant.
great.